Welcome to another episode of Linux Command Line Tips. Today we will be discussing the head and tail command. So it's all heads and tails today. These two commands are very useful for looking at the beginning portions of a file and also the ending portions of a file. So let's say you have a log file that's about 1,000 line longs. You don't necessarily want to bring up Nano or a VI editor and sit there and scroll or page through the entire file name. You're just interested in the most recent data of that log file. You wanted to see what happened recently. Maybe you had a crash in an application and you wanted to review that file and see the most recent logs. So to do that, you can issue the tail command. And in its most simplistic use, you would just type in tail space file name, and depending on what directory permissions you have, you may or may not need to prefix that with sudo. So for me, I don't have root privileges in this, so I have to prefix that with sudo since we're in the var log directory. So let's see what that brings up. So if we type in sudo space tail space file name, it will bring up the last or the most recent 10 lines of the log file. So you can review that and see if there were any errors or anything else. But let's say the last 10 lines don't cut it. You wanted to review the last 20 lines. So you can do that. But by default, the tail command will review the last 10 lines of the most recent portion or bottom portion of a file. But let's go into this and modify it. So tail space n with another space, and then how many lines do you want to view? Let's say we want to view 20, and then space file name. So the total command is tail space dash n space number of lines you want to view. In my case, it's 20, and then the file name, and you would hit return, and then you see the last 20 lines of the file. So let's just clear this up a little bit and make it a little more clear. So that's the last 20 lines. Or if you want to just see the last single line of the file, you can do that by hitting the 1, and that'll give you the last line. But by default, the tail will give you the last 10 lines if you don't specify anything. Okay, so that's if you want to take a look at the last X number of lines in a file, such as a log file, but you can also use it for other files as well. Let's say you want to look at the first 10 lines of a file instead of the last portion of the file. So you looked at the tail before, but now we want to look at the head of the file. So instead of specifying tail, we type in the head command. So head space file name will bring in the first 10 lines of that file name. And the same thing holds true for the head command. You can also specify how many lines you want. Let's say you want to see the first 5 lines in that file. It would be head space dash n space the number of files, which in my case, number of lines, which in my case is 5, space the file name you want to view, and hit enter, and you get the first 5 lines of that specific file. So again, the head and tail command are very useful for looking at log files, but they can be applied to reviewing other files, especially if they're thousands of lines long and you're only interested in the beginning or ending portions of the file. That's it for today, and we'll catch you guys next time.